So I'll just say by way of introduction, we try to bring rigor to how we're going to allocate capital. We try to bring that same systematic rigor to how we approach impact and plan. And in that regard, so as I was saying, that, and of course, I think one of the biggest things we can do for impact is to do more investing in venture. It's going to be one of the panelists. All right. So Zach Nassar, from the very early stage of 361, and I like to think that we're a 25-year-old company, sort of a 4 to 5-year-old company. I met Zach in Abu Dhabi, Dubai. So we've gone to 20 countries and 58 cities doing what we do, forming this community so we can do things more effectively together. And people lean in. So Zach's leaned in, and we've been shedding lights on philanthropy. We're trying to think how to be smart, and now we're going to be more systematic. But we're more in the inventory taking, sort of like we did today on the South Side, just to understand who's doing what and who's really good at what, so we can bring, sort of back up the bus on those people and their initiatives. Human trafficking, access to education are 2 big themes for us. But we're just trying to figure out where my wife says, listen to the universe. The universe is sort of telling us where our community wants to focus, and I think what we can do. I stopped raising money for philanthropy at the moment. I think what we can do better is the interconnection and helping. That's where we want to focus at the moment. So with that, if you see it mostly the same way. I think we're trying to waste it. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Thank you, Mark, and hello, everyone. Yeah, I agree with Mark, and we're trying to spotlight more philanthropies. I noticed today there are a lot of people on philanthropy boards, so they'd have visibility and know proficiency, and if it's a good philanthropist, we'll probably feature them. I've been promoting philanthropies a lot recently. On a plot list, I'll share an example of an impact investment related to the healthcare panel that talk. So there's money making as well. So it's a women-led company that's focused on women and family health, and it's telemedicine. It's called Maven. We invested 6 years ago. We made 14x. They became a unicorn last month. So you could make money in impact and diversity and all these themes we talked about so far. I won't talk much, but yeah, if you guys know a philanthropy well, please talk to me or Mark as well. We've been a part of the 361 community. We want to feature more of philanthropies and their work, even if it's not fundraising for them. I'll pass on to Sheila.
Maybe the first round is just introduce yourselves, and then we'll come back to some thematic questions.
So I'm Sheila Barry Driscoll. My foundation is the Sheila Barry Driscoll Foundation, and I support women in entertainment and a beautiful term that I learned in Dubai, people of determination, which is the special needs community.
I'm Lauren Taylor, co-founder and CEO of Awoken.com. It's a website about social justice organizations and the work they do. We're a for-profit Delaware C Corp, and you might be wondering, how does that bring me into this space? Well, social justice is what we do, but economic justice is a form of social justice.
Hi, my name is Ishpreet Randhawa. My background is from financial services. So I do 2 things. I should do many, but 2 key things I'll talk about today. One is I own a fintech in the AML space, but in the last few months, I've been focusing heavily on the philanthropy that I've been very heavily involved in, and I'm running as well. Like Mitzi Purdue, we are really missing it today, and that's been the spice to basically fight and help eradicate human trafficking. I'm looking at more into this.
Thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Samir Mirza. I'm the co-founder and executive director of First Start Funds here in Chicago. Our mission is to provide friends and family capital for Black-led startups here in Chicago. What's unique about our model is anyone can donate into the fund as a tax-deductible donation. We'll invest in startups, but all the returns actually stay inside of the fund. So we act as like an evergreen flywheel fund, and our mission is to provide that capital to make Chicago a more inclusive tech ecosystem.
Good afternoon. My name is Antonio Benecchi. I represent and principal of the Civic Consulting Alliance. It's a different animal from anything else that you hear about today, but here in Chicago, and it's a very unique example and manifestation of what we've been hearing throughout the day about the fact that Chicago is a business community where you are expected so much of civic engagement. The Civic Consulting Alliance is a non-for-profit organization that provides professional services, management consulting services, advisory services, and accounting that was established by the Commercial Code of Chicago, which is the oldest association of business leaders in this town. You heard this morning about the Burnham Plan and how that was hatched at the private sector. That's where it was hatched. So they established this organization, the Civic Consulting Alliance, 40 years ago. They funded, and the anchor founder and the Stilar, so that we can, as a micro consulting firm, so to speak, provide professional services to the public sector and civic partnership, large collaborations in the civic space. The other part that is unique of this model is that we are full start members that are paid by funders, but our capacity is expanded through our partners, which are basically all the largest professional services firms that are active in this region, the law firm, accounting firm, the consulting firms that actually add the approval capacity to ours. So that's a unique way that I don't think exists anywhere in the country through which the business community contributes to the sector. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Chung. I've been part of the 361 ecosystem for a little while now. I was previously in the executive office for a large single family office in Washington, D.C. That was the largest private real estate developer in that market. I'm currently the Chief Development Officer at Blockable LLC, which is the world's first vertically integrated modular real estate developer. Our mission is to help address the growing housing crisis in America, which is a major problem that currently America has a shortage of roughly 6 billion residential units across the country, and it's growing every year. And currently the real estate development industry is not equipped to address this shortfall. In fact, you would have to build residential units at a record-setting pace for the next 10 years to address this shortfall. But in fact, every year the shortfall keeps growing. So Blockable, using its cutting-edge proprietary modular building system, is intended to, we will use our own system to build our own projects. Unlike other modular companies that sell their product to other developers, we are using it ourselves to be building our own projects, building it cheaper and faster, and also doing it in a way that is has major environmental impact as well, because that's another problem with the construction industry, is that currently the construction industry accounts for 50% of all landfill waste, 40% of all worldwide energy consumption, and 39% of all greenhouse gas emissions. So with our building system, we're able to build with a dramatic reduction across the board in all these metrics. So that's another area where we will have a very positive impact, in addition to the social impact of addressing the housing crisis, also addressing the climate impact as well.
And the goal is to reduce by 30–50%.
Yes, when we achieve full-scale production with our manufacturing facilities, we'll be building housing at a significant discount to the traditional build, probably, initially probably in the range of 25 to 30%, but ultimately more in the range of 50 to 6%, because construction only gets more expensive over time. Our building system will be actually reducing costs at the same time. So that delta keeps growing as the years go by.
I want to switch it over to Mark. That's one of the issues, one of several ways we focused on the Southside tour. Except I have to do a shout out because we do a 360 diagnostic with family offices, and it was Nelson's Elevado. And I said, what are you looking to invest in? Asset funds. What are you raising capital planning? Well, yes, blockable. And do you have any talent gaps? Because actually, I really need a CFO, CDO, and one name, Steve China. And then,
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for making that reintroduction.
So I was really inspired by today's tour. Learned a lot. I've learned, you all know this. First of all, I know this Chicagoans love the jazz New York. Everybody loves their town, particularly Chicago. But there's some very unique things that happen in its history, that these block communities that have formed. But I'd like to turn it over to you, Lauren, maybe sharing your reflections, and maybe I'll chime in. Because I think we're here in Chicago. I think the Chicago issues are not completely specific to Chicago, but it's a specific history here. It's really interesting. You could check it out.
Prompt me a little bit, Mark, when you're talking about the specific history. Is this something we were talking about before?
Well, I think the way the community was formed, and then and then you get back to the fire, and it's just like there's. I'm not saying it's still segregated clearly, but there's some interesting ways that you all approach it as a community.
I guess what
And the problems are gargantuan, including digital divide. There's no broadband on that part of it, and
as much as we need. I guess what he's referring to is this idea of that you could say the development in Chicago is always focused on, you could say, what is going on in adjacent areas, so to speak. One of the things that we saw down there, of course, the University of Chicago campus, and so we were showing folks some of the stuff that is adjacent to there. The Obama Library Center, the site for that is basically, you could say, adjacent to or right next to the University of Chicago campus. And then if you go from there, some of the other sites that we were showing people. One of our objectives, or one of the things that we had wanted to accomplish with the Southside tour, was showing how everything was in such proximity to each other. And one of the things that we are focused on and trying to promote is this idea. Sometimes these solutions that you could say they're a little bit too widespread, or they're a little bit kind of too broad-based. So they try to maybe accomplish too much at one time. And what we had wanted to show with this tour is that there's so much going on, and it's even so kind of like compact in terms of its proximity to each other. Okay. What I'd like to do at this stage, okay, we had Anand that came with us, Cedric that came with us, and we went to visit Yvette Moyle. Can I just let each one of these folks talk for like 30 seconds about like what they saw? Because as I said, I think I was really pleased to hear the reaction, especially from these two guys, because it really did, we hit the objective. Without me trying to talk to either one of them, they really did have the kind of impression that we were intending.
Why don't we just do it together? You want to step up to the podium? So we also need two working mics. So I'll just say very quickly, I've been to Chicago in passing because of business trips. I'm a New Yorker, so you can give me a dig on that. But I found it striking to see the beauty in that area in terms of the brownstones, the history, the location being right next to everything that's in the heart of the city, and just the sense of community. And I was so fortunate because we got to have like a limo bus tour with Yvette and Lauren as our guides and pointing out, and I was taking video, which you'll see, I'm sure later, of the transition between the skyrises and then some of the up and coming areas with brownstones and what people are doing there. And then the stark, difference as you go into the broadband dead zone. Lauren, of course, it's one gig access, but he's special on that front. But I'll,
part of what I literally thought was the only person in our neighborhood South Shore, supposed to 48,000 people, who has 1 gigabyte residential, 1 gigabyte residential service. And part of it was because I was talking to some of the city makers at Comcast. So, we need to have a discussion about why the service is not available in our community and it's available in places like Lincoln Park.
and so I'll just say in summary, I think that there's huge opportunity. I developed and invested in properties in Jersey City in more recent years, and I just saw a huge transition happening there, an easy commuting area. And those chances, those opportunities are gone for the most part. There's still a few pockets, but in the New York City area, it is very difficult to find something that is still up and coming that you can get downtown in like half an hour or less, right? And so I'll stop there. But I will be making a trip back to Chicago from the real estate angle because of this tour that I went on today.
Yeah, I'll just echo a little bit more of what Anand was saying. I'm a new New Yorker as well, not originally from, but have been up there for quite a while, and having done a little bit of development in Newark, New Jersey, and then seeing what had happened in Brooklyn, and knowing how Chicago and New York, not quite comparable, living there. The proximity to opportunities such as down there is quite unique, with Chicago being positive or highlighted from earlier, but continuing to come up with somebody with opportunity or with issues. There's opportunity, and there definitely are issues with that broadband and the housing and the economic opportunity. But I think we're very eye-opening to the assets, beautiful area. Like definitely the proximity, green line. It's again, as a New Yorker, knowing that the development opportunities are about gone, there's a lot here in society.
Very quickly before I turn to the next, I'll circle on. We could have done a better job reaching out to the Hispanic business community, Hispanic leadership. And I have to tell you, for that, I take full responsibility. Because I was one of the point guys here, and that was really one of the things that was supposed to be on my radar. And I can pledge to you going forward, we're going to do better with that.
Look, I'm going to be more intentional. Like, don't try to
Really, yeah. We're gonna do better. Okay.
So quickly, we are developing blocks, corridors that have been neglected for like 30 years in Chicago. And I say neglected, shuttered blocks that go for a whole mile that end up at the lake. So West, you're one place where Michelle Obama and I grew up 1 block away from each other. I'm older, but we went to the same grammar school. The high school is right on the corner, and you got this whole block that leads all the way to this whole stretch, that corridor that leads all the way to the lake, which is waterfront community. Mostly Black people live on it, but it's the last community where Black people still live on the water in the country. And Black people are high income and very low income in this community of the South Shore. So we did the South Shore side tour because we're on these calls and we're like, you can't have an impact, tour, impact investment tour without coming to a Black community in Chicago. And we do have relationships. We have a nonprofit, we bought a building. So we're showing what we did with our own money in terms of investing in our own community. They have one space that's not shuttered in maybe a straight mile area. So that's what we wanted to show. There is opportunity, and we'll talk more.
And I'll just wrap up by saying this. Okay, it's great that we're having this panel that's talking about philanthropy and impact together, because this is the Midwest. One of our expressions on the South Side, when you're talking philanthropy, impact, but if it ain't making dollars, it ain't making sense.
So, and we have a nonprofit and it's for-profit.
I'd like to just give an opportunity for the rest of the speakers to like share an insight in their area, because I know the panel is like really big. And as a segue from the previous topic, Antonio, if you could comment about an area of opportunity in Chicago, because part of civil consulting, he has the economic development, right? Like practice. So I think it's a related like segue. And an interesting thing about civic consulting, because we have business leaders from different cities. Initially, it was the business leaders themselves giving some of their time to advise, on community and civic projects and whatnot. So the model could be replicated in other cities. I think it was really interesting. Tony?
Yeah, thank you. In terms of opportunities, I'm assuming you refer opportunities for investment, of course. I think I could not agree more with you. There's tons of opportunities. Well, not tons, but there are still lots of opportunities for development and redevelopment. There are still large or significant portions of land that are due for redevelopment that I don't think you find in many other large cities like we do in Chicago. But then you have the opportunity and the need to actually invest in corridors or in areas that have assets that have been underinvested or disinvested for many years that are now receiving a lot more attention from the administration, from the city, to channel resources, both public and attract private resources. So from the real estate perspective, I agree with whatever was said earlier about the opportunities that I think exist here that probably don't exist to the same extent in other larger cities. There are other, of course, known development opportunities, I think, which are all the ones that you've been hearing about today, which are true and real. But for the purpose of this conversation, I think investment, and impact investment, I think is not only needed, it's trying to actually accelerate because there are resources being poured into it, not just by private sector and financial, but also by the public sector.
Sure. Yeah, happy to speak to this. So with Nassar, what's core to our mission is we believe that having access to friends and family capital should not be a prereq to starting a company, especially a tech company. I know I talked to Lauren, you have a great quote of friends and family is just another term for generational wealth, right? And I think when you look at Chicago from a tech community perspective, so there's a lot of momentum right now, a lot of unicorns being built, but a lot of these companies being built by the same kind of individual, I would say, or people from very similar backgrounds. And what's unique about Chicago, despite how segregated it is the large Black and brown population that does exist here. And so what we're finding is if you want to build a more diverse, inclusive tech ecosystem, especially founders later on in the later stages, you have to support them early on. So what we value is there are so many founders that are deserving of capital that friends and family pre-seed stage. And I think what's also exciting is there's going to be so many unique and different kinds of products that will be built, like overlooked markets that are now being considered right now. I think traditional Chicago has been looked at for very traditional industries, especially from the tech perspective. So I think that's what gets me fired up. And there's an opportunity when something is overlooked and underestimated.
So I just wanted to share, like, I did not grow up in philanthropy, and like I come from a culture of philanthropy, not big tent. But one of the things I noticed that I grew up in life is like, all right, you can make money doing all those things, and you can do very well, and I'm blessed. I realized that there's so many broken things in life and so many things that can be fixed. I grew up in India. So human trafficking is something which is very, very close to my heart. I just didn't know what it was. I've never been exposed to it, that's good. But it's something prevalent and it's huge. And it's something that just keeps growing. So unlike a disease which can't be cured, right? There's some disease, there's just no cure. You can take pills and you can prolong your life. But human trafficking is something that is there because people are greedy. It's there because it makes you more money. It's there because it's the most profitable enterprise in the world and today the fastest growing. Can it be controlled? Yes. So why aren't we doing that? And it's so when I started my fintech after my career in financial services, a part of that was driven by how to fight the biggest crimes in the world, and the big thing is human trafficking. There are others as well, drugs, terrorism, two very closely attached to it, but human trafficking is very close to my heart. And that's where the whole idea actually started. And then, God willing, I meet somebody who actually has a nonprofit on that, and we started working together. But the big theme was when I met with Mitzi, and I hope you all get a chance to meet with her, who was incredible. I love it a bit. That my thought with her and conversation with her was like, you don't want to be just another nonprofit who's there to go out and give speeches and whatnot. And there's so many of them exist. And no disrespect to them, a lot of them are doing things, but there's so many of them where nothing's really happening. He said, this is a place where we can actually make a difference. And not a band-aid difference, make a measurable, significant, long-term difference where the impact is noticed. And quite selfishly, in my life, I've noticed you make money, you feel good for a little bit, you buy something shiny, you feel good for another week, and that's it. But when you do something good for someone, I realized selfishly, you feel so good. And I was fortunate to sit in this conference, the rural building, after in this tiny little room, and they were all talking of how about doing something really great. So I'm not a believer, yeah. But I always thought, wow, you know what? It is our job to look after the next generation. And so why haven't our previous generation, why aren't we making a dent in this? We already do so many things. Climate control, we did private jets, go to Davos, talk about climate. We really can't be that fake. We need to be real and really do something. So I can talk for hours and take up all the time, so I won't.
On that point, we're going to have a summit on human trafficking. We did a deep dive and I went 1 foot into the ocean. So we're excited because it also touches on things like foster care, education for prison. There's a recycling, people are pulled out of human trafficking and they're pulled back in. They need access to roadmaps and mentors. That's a whole holistic. And I'm excited that there are people to lead it. I just want to back up the bus behind people that are the thought leaders in our community to do that. I know it's also an important thing for you, Sheila, but you do a number of things. Like you want to grow the Driscoll strawberry in the desert, among other things. So I'm excited to hear what you're going to focus on.
Thank you. And in the spirit of the Chicago community, I invite you all to think of something. And what I'm hearing today in the room is just overwhelmingly positive. But let's move from success to significance. This is philanthropy. So philanthropy, really, if you ask what it is, in a simple definition, it's doing good and feeling good while you're doing it. What's the difference with impact investing? Doing good, but making a social impact and getting a return, a financial return. This is where the two interlock. So if we understand that going out the gate, where do we focus our investments? And where do we focus our money? The very first thing that I would invite you all to consider is the very important question. What is the problem you're trying to solve? This often gets overlooked because we can get mired in all of the social dilemma or what's all spiraling around us. If we ask ourselves before we pull out our checkbooks, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And what is our motivation? Now you refocus your lens. Because in impact investing in the world of philanthropy, you want to look at a few key issues. Mark brought up some very good points. So did Warren. It's education. It's changing the social environment, but moreover, mentorship. If you lock those three pieces together, now you come up with a formula, which is, and you can all do, is inform, inspire, innovate. There it is simply. So if we can put all of our sources together in 361 is doing this, now we can make an impact. Now our money does bring returns, but we do good and we feel good doing it. So there it is.
So again, we have breakouts for this conversation to continue. And so what we're going to do now is we have 3 separate rooms, and then we have this room. So if you are interested in fintech, there's a lakeside view. You might just go because of the view. Then if you're interested in cannabis, it's this corner. Oh, it's the west. I'm very correct. And then there's another one over here, and I'll say healthcare related. If you are interested in this impact discussion, don't move. We'll shift to this side of the room. And if you're interested in anything else, come to me and we'll create little tables. I heard real estate. Maybe your tables will split up. So take a break if you're up. There will be. We're going to go to 5:30. At the 5 o'clock mark, you may want to switch rooms. It's very fluid. You're actually speaking fluids. There's going to be some alcohol available. Like 5-minute conversation, and then at 5:30 we come back here. We do a debrief, and then we have takeaways from 1 or 2 people from each of the breakouts because they can't be everywhere. All right. So if you're a moderator,
come join our 361 firm community of investors and thought leaders. We have a lot of events created by the community as we collaborate on investments and philanthropic interests. Join us.